The moment Sofia walked into Riverside Manor, she knew. This was it. This was where she and Marcus would get married. The estate sat on 12 acres of perfectly manicured grounds, with century-old oak trees draped in Spanish moss, gardens that looked like they'd been painted by Monet, and a glass conservatory that caught the afternoon light in a way that made everything inside glow golden. The main ballroom had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a pond where swans actually glided. Real swans, not the decorative kind. It was the kind of place you saw in magazines and assumed was either photoshopped or cost $1 million to rent for an evening. "It's perfect," Sofia whispered, squeezing Marcus's hand so hard her knuckles turned white. Marcus smiled down at her, his dark eyes warm with that look he got when he was watching her be happy. "Then this is where we're getting married." "Marcus, we haven't even asked about pricing yet." "Doesn't matter. Look at your face right now. You're glowing. This is your dream venue, Soph. We'll make it work." The venue coordinator, a polished woman in her 40s named Catherine, materialized beside them with a leather portfolio and a knowing smile. "I can see you love it. Shall we talk details?" They sat in Catherine's office, itself beautiful, with its vintage desk and walls covered in photos of happy couples who'd said their vows here. Catherine walked them through packages, pricing, available dates. "We have an opening on June 14th next year," Catherine said, flipping through her calendar. "That's 14 months out, which gives you plenty of time to plan." Sofia looked at Marcus, who nodded. June 14th, a Saturday, perfect weather. 14 months felt like both forever and not nearly enough time. "We'll take it," Sofia said, her voice barely steady with excitement. They signed the contract that afternoon. Put down the deposit, $5,000, which represented 3 months of Sofia's savings from her job as a graphic designer. But it was worth it. God, it was so worth it. As they drove away from Riverside Manor, Sofia couldn't stop looking back at it through the car window, already imagining how it would look decorated, how she'd walk down the aisle between those oak trees, how Marcus would look waiting for her under the arbor they'd construct. "You're going to be the most beautiful bride," Marcus said, reaching over to take her hand. "We're really doing this," Sofia said, tears of joy gathering in her eyes. "We're getting married at Riverside Manor." What she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that in exactly 8 months, she'd get a phone call that would shatter everything. Blank. The next 8 months were a blur of planning. Sofia threw herself into wedding preparation with the kind of focused intensity she usually reserved for big design projects at work. She created spreadsheets for everything: guest lists, vendor contacts, budget tracking, timeline planning. She made Pinterest boards that her friends joked could rival professional wedding planners. She researched florists and photographers and caterers, reading reviews until her eyes crossed. Marcus joked that she'd gone into wedding mode, but he said it with affection, helping wherever she asked, showing up to tastings and meetings, never once complaining when she wanted his opinion on napkin colors or centerpiece options. Sofia's sister Nina was her maid of honor and primary sounding board. They spent countless evenings together, Nina helping Sofia address invitations, offering opinions on dress options, listening to Sofia's excitement and occasional stressed-out spirals with equal patience. "You know you're kind of insane about this, right?" Nina teased one evening as Sofia showed her yet another revised floor plan for the reception. "It's my wedding, Nina, our wedding. I want it to be perfect." "It will be perfect because you're marrying Marcus. Everything else is just decoration." Sofia knew her sister was right, but she also knew that the decoration mattered to her. She'd been dreaming about her wedding day since she was a little girl, playing dress-up in her mother's closet. She wanted it to be beautiful. She wanted it to be memorable. She wanted Riverside Manor filled with flowers and light and love. The only point of tension in the planning came from an unexpected source: Marcus's mother, Patricia. Patricia Reeves was a lot. She was one of those women who'd built her entire identity around perfection. Perfect house, perfect clothes, perfect family image. She was active in her country club, served on multiple charity boards, and had very specific ideas about what constituted an appropriate wedding. From the moment Marcus had proposed, Patricia had been inserting herself into the planning. Nothing Sofia chose was quite right. The color scheme was a bit pedestrian. The florist wasn't prestigious enough. The photographer hadn't shot any weddings Patricia had heard of. She's just excited, Marcus would say whenever Sofia vented her frustration. She's my mom. She wants things to be nice. I want things to be nice too, Marcus. But I also want them to be ours, not her vision of what they should be. I know, babe, I'll talk to her. He did talk to her, multiple times. But Patricia had a way of making her suggestions seem helpful rather than controlling, of making Sofia feel ungrateful for not accepting her generous input. The breaking point came when Patricia offered to contribute to the wedding budget, but with strings attached. She wanted veto power over major decisions. She wanted her extended family added to the guest list, another 40 people. She wanted to hire her own wedding planner to assist Sofia. Thank you, Patricia, but we've got it handled, Sofia said as diplomatically as she could manage during a particularly tense dinner at the Reeves house. Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. Of course, dear. I'm sure you're doing your best, though I have to say, I'm a bit concerned about some of your choices. Riverside Manor is lovely, but it's not really the caliber of venue the Reeves family typically. Mom, Marcus interrupted, his voice firm. Sofia has worked incredibly hard on this. We love Riverside Manor. It's perfect for us. I'm only thinking of you both, darling. I want your wedding to be something you're proud of. The implication hung in the air, that if they followed Sofia's plan, they wouldn't be proud of it. Sofia excused herself to the bathroom and cried angry, frustrated tears. She loved Marcus desperately, but his mother was making her question everything. Was Riverside Manor not fancy enough? Were her choices not sophisticated enough? Was she, fundamentally, not enough for the Reeves family? Marcus found her afterward, pulled her into his arms, and said exactly what she needed to hear. You're enough. More than enough. And our wedding is going to be perfect because it's ours. Don't let my mom get in your head. Sofia nodded, tried to believe him, and went back to planning. Blank. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon in February, exactly 6 months before the wedding. Sofia was at work, in the middle of a design review, when her phone buzzed with a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer, but something made her step out of the meeting and pick up. Hello? Is this Sofia Martinez? Yes? This is Catherine from Riverside Manor. I'm calling regarding your wedding booking for June 14th. Sofia's heart immediately started pounding. Something in Catherine's tone was wrong. Is everything okay? I'm afraid I have some very difficult news. Catherine's voice was strained, professional, but barely. Your wedding booking there's been a cancellation of your reservation. Sofia's brain couldn't process the words. I'm sorry, what? Your June 14th booking has been canceled. The deposit has been refunded to your account. Canceled? I don't understand. We have a contract. We paid a deposit. How can it be canceled? There was a conflict with the booking. Another event was scheduled for the same date. Due to certain circumstances, we had to honor the other booking. What circumstances? We booked first. We've been planning for 8 months. I understand this is devastating news, Ms. Martinez, but the decision has been made. I'm truly sorry. Sofia felt like the ground was tilting beneath her. There has to be a mistake. Can I speak to someone? Can we figure this out? Maybe we can move to a different date. I'm afraid we're completely booked for the next 18 months. There are no alternative dates available. So you're just canceling our wedding 6 months before the date? After we've sent invitations, booked vendors, planned everything around this venue? I apologize for the inconvenience. Inconvenience? Sofia's voice rose. This isn't an inconvenience, Catherine. This is my wedding. You can't do this. The decision is final, Ms. Martinez. You'll receive an email confirmation of the cancellation and refund. Again, I'm very sorry. The line went dead. Sofia stood in the hallway outside the conference room, phone still pressed to her ear, trying to understand what had just happened. Her wedding venue, the place she'd fallen in love with, the centerpiece of all her planning, the setting for the most important day of her life, was just gone. She called Marcus immediately. Sofia, what's wrong? You sound... They canceled our venue. Her voice was shaking. Riverside Manor just called. They canceled our wedding. What? They can't do that. We have a contract. They said there was a conflict. Another event on the same date that they had to honor. Marcus, our wedding is in 6 months. 6 months. And now we have no venue. She heard him take a sharp breath. Okay, don't panic. I'm leaving work right now. Meet me at home. We'll figure this out. But as Sofia gathered her things and left work in a daze, she couldn't imagine how they'd figure this out. Every decent venue booked up a year or more in advance. They had 6 months. 6 months to find something comparable, replan everything, coordinate with vendors who'd been hired specifically for Riverside Manor's location and layout. It felt impossible. Blank. That evening, Sofia and Marcus sat at their kitchen table surrounded by laptop screens and phones, desperately searching for alternative venues. Every place they called was either booked solid or didn't come close to Riverside Manor. Hotels had availability, but felt generic. Smaller venues were available, but couldn't accommodate their guest list. The few estates or gardens with openings were either twice the price or half the quality. What about the botanical gardens? Marcus suggested. Fully booked through next year, I already checked. The historic courthouse? Only does ceremonies, not receptions. The vineyard estate? They had a June date, but it's the 21 stone, and half our guests already said they can't make that weekend. With each dead end, Sofia felt her carefully constructed plans crumbling. She'd worked so hard, she'd been so organized, so thorough, so prepared. And now all of it, the flowers she'd selected to match Riverside Manor's garden, the photographer she'd hired specifically for their skill with natural light in glass conservatories, the timeline she'd crafted around sunset at the pond, all of it was useless. Maybe we should postpone, Sofia said quietly, fighting back tears. Push the wedding back a year. Give ourselves time to find something comparable. Marcus reached across the table and took both her hands. We've already waited so long to get married. I don't want to wait another year. But Marcus, look at our options. They're all terrible. Nothing compares to Riverside Manor. It was perfect, and now, her voice broke. I don't understand how this happened. How can they just cancel like that? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Marcus picked up his phone and called Riverside Manor, asking to speak with Catherine's supervisor. He was transferred 3 times before finally getting someone who would talk. The venue's owner, a man named Robert Hartley. Marcus put the phone on speaker. Mr. Reeves, I understand you're upset about the cancellation, Robert said, his tone carefully neutral. But we had no choice in the matter. You absolutely had a choice, Marcus said, his usual calm demeanor cracking. We had a contract. We paid a deposit 8 months ago. You can't just cancel 6 months before the wedding. There were extenuating circumstances. What circumstances? A long pause. I'm not at liberty to discuss the details of other clients' bookings. Other clients? Sofia's voice was sharp. So someone else did book the same date? After we'd already reserved it? Another pause. Ms. Martinez, Mr. Reeves, I truly am sorry. This was not a decision we made lightly. Then unmake it, Marcus said. Honor our contract. We booked first. I'm afraid that's not possible. Why not? Sofia demanded. What extenuating circumstances could possibly justify breaking our contract? I'm not able to. Tell us who booked the date, Sofia interrupted. Who is so important that you'd cancel a couple's wedding 6 months out? Silence on the other end. Then, very quietly, I'm sorry, I can't give you that information. But something in his tone, guilt, maybe, or discomfort, made Sofia's stomach drop. It's someone you know, isn't it? She said slowly. Someone with connections. Someone who pressured you. Ms. Martinez. Who was it? I can't. WHO was it? The silence stretched out. Finally, Robert Hartley said, very carefully, I suggest you speak with your future mother-in-law. Good evening. He hung up. Sofia and Marcus stared at each other. No, Marcus said. No, she wouldn't. But even as he said it, Sofia could see the realization dawning on his face. The way his mother had criticized Riverside Manor. The way she'd offered to contribute with strings attached. The way she'd made subtle digs about the venue not being Reeves' family caliber. Sofia's hands started shaking. Call your mother, right now. Marcus's jaw tightened. He picked up his phone and dialed. Patricia answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful. Marcus, darling, how are you? Mom, did you have something to do with Riverside Manor canceling Sofia's wedding? A beat of silence. What? Did you book Riverside Manor for June 14th? Marcus, I don't know what you're... Mom, answer the question. Another pause. When Patricia spoke again, her voice had shifted, defensive, slightly annoyed. I may have made some arrangements, yes. Sofia felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. You what? Marcus's voice was lethal. Darling, hear me out. I was trying to help. That venue simply wasn't appropriate for a Reeves family wedding. So I called in a favor with Robert Hartley. His wife is on the junior league board with me, and secured a booking for a more suitable location for you and Sofia. The Belmont Estate. It's much more prestigious and... You canceled our wedding venue, Marcus interrupted, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. 6 months before the wedding, after Sofia has been planning for 8 months, you deliberately sabotaged our wedding. I did not sabotage anything! I was trying to upgrade. By going behind our backs? By using your connections to pressure a venue owner into breaking our contract? Mom, do you have any idea what you've done? I was thinking of your future. The Reeves name means something, Marcus. Your wedding will be attended by important people. It needs to be at a venue that reflects. I don't care about the Reeves name, Marcus shouted. Sofia had never heard him yell like this. I care about Sofia. I care about marrying the woman I love in a place that she chose, that she loves, that means something to us. You're being melodramatic. No, Mom, you're being controlling and manipulative and cruel. His voice dropped, became cold in a way that was somehow worse than the shouting. You just destroyed months of Sofia's work. You humiliated her. You showed complete disrespect for both of us and our choices. And for what? So you could show off to your country club friends? Marcus Antonio Reeves, you do not speak to me like... I need you to fix this. Call Robert Hartley right now and tell him to reinstate our booking. I will do no such thing. The Belmont Estate is already booked for your wedding. You should be thanking me. We're not getting married at the Belmont Estate. Don't be childish. This conversation is over. Do not contact Sofia. Do not contact me. Not until you're ready to apologize and fix what you broke. Marcus hung up before his mother could respond. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Sofia felt numb, trying to process what had just happened. Patricia, her future mother-in-law, the woman who would be family, had deliberately sabotaged her wedding, had used her influence and connections to steal their venue, to override their choices, to force them into something she wanted instead. Sofia, Marcus said, his voice breaking. God, Soph, I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. That's when Sofia started crying. Not gentle tears, but ugly, gasping sobs of frustration and rage and heartbreak. 8 months of planning. 8 months of excitement and dreams and careful coordination. Gone. Not because of bad luck or unavoidable circumstances, but because someone had deliberately destroyed it. Marcus pulled her into his arms, and she felt him shaking too, with anger, with guilt, with his own devastation at his mother's betrayal. We're not getting married at the Belmont Estate, Sofia said when she could finally speak. I don't care if it's the most beautiful place on earth. I won't let her win. I know, we won't. But Marcus, we have 6 months and no venue. What are we going to do? He pulled back to look at her, wiping tears from her cheeks with his thumbs. I don't know yet, but I promise you, we're going to have the wedding you dreamed of. Maybe not at Riverside Manor, but somewhere just as beautiful. Somewhere that's ours. Somewhere she can't touch. Sofia wanted to believe him. But sitting in their kitchen, surrounded by the ruins of her careful plans, she had no idea how that could possibly happen. No blank, underscore, blank. The next morning, Sofia woke up exhausted, her eyes swollen from crying. For a few seconds, she forgot why she felt so awful. Then it all came rushing back. Her venue was gone, her future mother-in-law had sabotaged her wedding, and she had 6 months to figure out how to salvage the most important day of her life. Sofia dragged herself to the kitchen where Marcus already had coffee brewing. He looked as tired as she felt. I've been thinking, he said, handing her a mug. Maybe we should consider something completely different. Not try to replace Riverside Manor with something similar, but go in an entirely new direction. Like what? I don't know. Elope? Destination wedding? Small ceremony somewhere unexpected? Sofia sipped her coffee, trying to imagine it. Marcus, we've already sent save the dates to 150 people. We've put deposits down with vendors. My family has already requested time off work and booked travel. I can't just abandon all of that. I'm not saying abandon it. I'm saying maybe we need to think outside the box. Before Sofia could respond, her phone rang. It was Nina. I just heard, Nina said without preamble. Mom told me. Sofia, I'm so sorry. Patricia is... I can't even say what Patricia is without using words that would make Mom wash my mouth out with soap. Despite everything, Sofia almost smiled. Yeah. What are you going to do? I have no idea. Every venue is booked. We're running out of time. And I refuse to get married at her stupid Belmont estate. Good. Don't let her win. Nina paused. Listen, I have an idea. Can I come over tonight? I want to run something by you and Marcus. Nina, if this is another Pinterest board of alternative venue ideas, I've already looked. It's not. Just trust me. I'll be there at 7. Blank. Blank. Nina showed up that evening with a laptop and an expression Sofia recognized, her sister's I have a plan face. They sat in the living room, and Nina opened her laptop with a flourish. Okay, so I've been thinking about this all day. You need a venue that's available on your date, that's beautiful enough to compete with Riverside Manor, that Patricia can't sabotage, and that won't cost a fortune since you just got refunded your deposit, but not all the money you've spent on planning around a specific space. That's impossible, Sofia said. Hear me out. Nina turned the laptop to face them. On the screen was a photo of a property Sofia didn't recognize. A large piece of land with what looked like an old barn, open fields, and mature trees in the background. What is that? Marcus asked. That, Nina said proudly, is Grandma Rosa's property. Sofia's heart skipped. Nina, Grandma's land is... Perfect. It's 40 acres, Marcus. 40 acres of fields and woods, and that gorgeous old barn that Grandpa built in the 50s. There's the creek running through the back part. Those oak trees that are probably 200 years old. And the land is just sitting there because nobody's doing anything with it, since Grandma moved to assisted living. Sofia stared at the photos. She knew her grandmother's property well. She'd spent childhood summers there, running through fields, wading in the creek, playing in that old barn. It was beautiful in a wild, natural way, but, Nina, it's just land. There's no building, no facilities, nothing set up for an event. So we set it up, Nina interrupted. We create the wedding from scratch. No venue coordinator telling us what we can and can't do. No Patricia calling in favors to sabotage it because she doesn't have connections to your grandmother's personal property. Complete creative freedom. Marcus was leaning forward now, interested. Keep going. Think about it. You could get married under those oak trees, like you wanted at Riverside Manor, but better, because they're even bigger. We could clean up the barn and use it for the reception. Rent a big tent if we need more covered space. Bring in catering, portable bathrooms, whatever we need. String lights everywhere. It could be magical. Sofia felt something stirring. Not quite hope yet, but possibility. That's a massive undertaking, Nina. We'd have to plan everything from scratch, coordinate everything, make sure the property could even handle that many people. Yes, it's a lot of work, but you have 6 months and an entire family who would help. You know Mom would be all over this. Uncle Carlos has that lighting company. He could do the setup. Tia Maria knows every caterer in the state. And the best part? Nina grinned. It would be yours. Completely, totally yours. Not some stuffy estate Patricia chose. Not a generic hotel ballroom. Your grandmother's land where you spent your childhood transformed into something magical. Sofia looked at Marcus, saw the same cautious possibility in his eyes. Can we see it? Marcus asked. The property? I already talked to Grandma Rosa, Nina said. She thinks it's a wonderful idea. She said, and I quote, Patricia Reeves can take her fancy estate and shove it. My land is good enough for my granddaughter's wedding. Despite everything, Sofia laughed. That sounded exactly like Grandma Rosa. When can we go see it? Sofia asked. Blank. They drove out to the property the next day. Sofia, Marcus, and Nina, with Grandma Rosa giving directions from the front seat, despite the fact that Sofia had been there hundreds of times. It was late afternoon when they arrived, and the light was that golden pre-sunset glow that makes everything look like it's been touched by magic. Sofia stepped out of the car and looked around with fresh eyes, trying to see it not as her childhood playground, but as a potential wedding venue. The main field was probably 5 acres, flat, covered in winter grass that would be lush and green by June. The oak trees stood in a cluster at the far end, their branches spreading like nature's cathedral. Beyond them, the old barn rose against the sky, weathered wood that would photograph beautifully. The creek wound through the background, visible through the trees. It was raw, wild, completely undeveloped. It was also the most beautiful piece of land Sofia had ever seen. "What do you think?" Nina asked quietly, coming to stand beside her. "I think," Sofia turned slowly, taking it all in, "I think it could be incredible." They walked the property for an hour, Sofia's mind already spinning with possibilities. The ceremony could be here, under the oaks, with guests sitting on the slope where they'd have a perfect view. The barn could be cleared out and decorated. It was huge inside, easily big enough for dinner and dancing. They could string cafe lights between the trees, set up a bar area near the creek, create lounge spaces with vintage furniture. The more she envisioned it, the more excited she became. "It wouldn't be Riverside Manor," Sofia said, standing under the oak trees with Marcus. "No," Marcus agreed. "It would be better, because it would be ours. Built from the ground up, exactly how we want it." Sofia looked up at him. "You really want to do this? It's going to be so much work." "You're worth it." "We're worth it." He pulled her close. "And honestly, I kind of love the idea of building our wedding ourselves. Of creating something from nothing. Something Patricia can't take away from us." That decided it. Oilma blank underscore blank. The next 6 months were a whirlwind of work unlike anything Sofia had imagined. True to Nina's prediction, once Sofia announced the plan to the extended Martinez family, everyone jumped in to help. What began as a desperate backup plan transformed into a full-scale family project. Uncle Carlos didn't just provide lighting. He brought his entire crew out to the property multiple weekends to design and install an elaborate system of string lights, uplights for the trees, and a chandelier situation in the barn that would make any Pinterest board jealous. Tia Maria didn't just recommend caterers. She knew a chef who'd just opened his own company and was looking for signature events. He came out to the property, walked around for an hour, and created a menu inspired by the natural setting that was better than anything Sofia had looked at for Riverside Manor. Sofia's cousins showed up with work gloves and paintbrushes, helping to clean and restore the barn. They pressure washed the exterior, repaired loose boards, and discovered that once cleaned up, the barn had the kind of authentic character that expensive venues tried to fake. Marcus's brothers, who were furious at their mother and desperate to make amends for her behavior, contributed their skills too. One was a carpenter who built beautiful wooden benches for the ceremony. Another was a landscaper who helped map out the grounds and plant flowers that would bloom in time for June. Even Grandma Rosa got involved, directing operations from a lawn chair like a benevolent general, occasionally offering commentary like, "Sofia, Misha, move that arch 3 feet to the left. The light is better there." Sofia's mother, Maria, appointed herself project manager, creating schedules and coordinating volunteers with the efficiency of a military operation. She also became Sofia's biggest cheerleader, reminding her daughter daily that what they were creating was more special than any venue she could have rented. The only family member notably absent from the preparations was Patricia. Marcus had kept his word. He wasn't speaking to his mother. She'd called multiple times, sent texts, even showed up at their apartment once. Marcus answered the door, said, "I asked you not to contact us," and closed the door in her face. Patricia had sent a formal apology letter, typed, not handwritten, which Sofia noted, that said all the right words but somehow felt hollow. She claimed she'd acted in their best interests, that she'd been trying to help, that she hoped they could move past this, quote, misunderstanding. "It wasn't a misunderstanding," Marcus said when he showed Sofia the letter. "It was a power play, and she's only apologizing because she's being excluded." "Do you think we should forgive her?" Sofia asked carefully. "She's your mother. She'll be at the wedding either way." "She'll be at the wedding because she's my mother, and I can't exactly uninvite her. But forgiveness? That's going to take a lot more than a form letter apology." Hey blank underscore blank. As June approached, the property transformed in ways that exceeded Sofia's wildest dreams. The ceremony space under the oaks was breathtaking. Uncle Carlos had strung lights through the branches so that when lit at dusk, it would look like stars caught in the trees. The wooden benches Marcus's brother built faced a natural aisle lined with wildflowers that the landscaper brother had cultivated to bloom specifically for the wedding date. The barn had become something out of a fairy tale. The interior was now painted in soft cream, with the original wood beams exposed and highlighted. Long farm tables, borrowed from various family members and friends, were set up for dinner. The lighting Uncle Carlos had installed created an ambient glow that made everything romantic without being dark. One entire wall had been opened up to create a seamless flow to the outdoor patio area they'd built. Between the barn and ceremony site, there was now a cocktail area with vintage furniture arranged in intimate groupings, a bar made from reclaimed wood, and lounge spaces with rugs and pillows that invited guests to sit and stay. The creek area had been cleared and landscaped, with a small bridge built across it, another contribution from the carpenter brother, and more lights strung through the trees so the water would shimmer. It was rustic but elegant, personal but polished, and completely, undeniably magical. "This is incredible," Sofia's photographer said when she came to do a site visit 3 weeks before the wedding. "Sofia, seriously. I've shot weddings at every major venue in the state. This is more beautiful than any of them." Sofia felt tears prick her eyes. "You really think so?" "I know so. The light here is insane. The natural elements, the personal touches everywhere. Your guests are going to lose their minds." Blank. Blank. 1 week before the wedding, Sofia stood in the middle of the property with Nina, both of them surveying their work. "We did it," Nina said softly. "Sof, we actually did it." "We did," Sofia agreed, still barely believing it. "It's better than I imagined." "Better than Riverside Manor?" Sofia was quiet for a moment, really considering the question. Different than Riverside Manor. Riverside Manor was beautiful, but it was someone else's beauty. This is ours. Every single thing here was chosen by us, built by people who love us, created specifically for our day. "Patricia is going to die when she sees this," Nina said with satisfaction. "I don't care what Patricia thinks," Sofia replied, and realized it was true. 6 months ago, Patricia's sabotage had devastated her. But now, Patricia had inadvertently given Sofia something better, the chance to create something authentic, something meaningful, something that actually reflected who she and Marcus were. "Your wedding is going to be perfect," Nina said, hugging her sister, not despite Patricia's betrayal, but maybe a little bit because of it. Blank. The day before the wedding, Sofia got a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Sofia, it's Robert Hartley, from Riverside Manor." Sofia's stomach tightened. "Hello. I hope I'm not overstepping by calling. I got your number from our original booking file. I wanted to. I owe you an apology." "You've already apologized." "No, I mean a real apology. Not the corporate non-apology I gave you before." He took a breath. "What I did, what I allowed Patricia Reeves to pressure me into doing, was unconscionable. I broke your contract because she's friends with my wife and threatened to make things difficult for us socially if I didn't accommodate her. That's not okay. That's not who I want to be." Sofia didn't know what to say. "I heard through the grapevine that you're getting married tomorrow on your grandmother's property, that you've built the entire wedding from scratch. And I heard it's supposed to be absolutely beautiful." His voice was sincere. I'm glad something good came out of my weakness. I hope your day is everything you deserve." "Thank you," Sofia said quietly. After they hung up, Sofia sat with the conversation for a while. Robert's apology felt genuine in a way Patricia's letter never had. He'd owned his mistake completely, without excuses or justifications. It didn't change what had happened, but it did offer something like closure. Blank. Sofia's wedding day dawned clear and perfect. Not a cloud in the sky, temperature exactly right, light breeze that would keep things comfortable but not blow decorations around. "It's like even the weather is on your side," Nina said as she helped Sofia into her dress. The dress was vintage lace, not the one Sofia had originally chosen for Riverside Manor, but a different one she'd found at a boutique that specialized in restored vintage gowns. It felt right for the barn venue, romantic but not overly formal. As Sofia's mother pinned the veil into her hair, she looked at her daughter in the mirror with tears in her eyes. "You are so beautiful, Mija. And what you and Marcus created out there, your father would be so proud." Sofia felt her own tears threatening. Her father had passed away when she was in college, and his absence today was a quiet ache beneath all the joy. "I wish he could see this." "He can," Maria said firmly. "And he's probably laughing at Patricia Reeves right now, thinking she could stop a Martinez woman from having the wedding she wanted." Moo, blank, underscore, blank. The ceremony took place at golden hour, with late afternoon sun filtering through the oak trees, just the way Sofia had imagined. Marcus waited at the end of the aisle, and when Sofia appeared, his face did something that made half the guests reach for tissues. Pure, overwhelming love and joy. Sofia walked toward him, through the rows of friends and family, past all the people who'd helped build this day from nothing, under the trees her grandmother had played under as a child, on the land that represented her family's history and love. When she reached Marcus, he whispered, "You're so beautiful, and this place, Sof, it's perfect." "We made it perfect," she whispered back. The ceremony was officiated by Marcus's favorite uncle, who'd gotten ordained specifically for this. He spoke about love that perseveres, about building something beautiful from difficult circumstances, about two people choosing each other every day. When Marcus and Sofia exchanged vows, they included lines about partnership, about facing challenges together, about creating their own path rather than following someone else's plan. "I promise to always choose us," Marcus said, his voice steady but emotional, "to build our life together with the same care and intention we built this place. To honor your dreams as sacred, not optional." "I promise to never lose myself trying to please everyone else," Sofia said. "To remember that we get to decide what our life looks like. And to keep choosing the person you are, not the person anyone else thinks you should be." When they kissed, their guests erupted in applause and cheers that echoed across the property. As they walked back down the aisle as husband and wife, Sofia caught sight of Patricia in the third row. Her former future mother-in-law, now just mother-in-law, looked complicated. There was something in her expression that might have been grudging admiration, or possibly just shock at what she was seeing. Sofia didn't care. She was too busy feeling the sun on her face, Marcus's hand in hers, and the joy of everyone who'd helped make this day possible. Sop, blank, underscore, blank. The reception in the barn exceeded every expectation. The space glowed in the evening light, the Edison bulbs and string lights, creating an ambiance that was both intimate and celebratory. The long tables were decorated with wildflower arrangements in vintage bottles. Another family contribution. Apparently Sofia's aunt had been saving glass bottles for years, just in case. Candles flickered everywhere. Dinner was served family style, with guests passing platters and bowls, creating the kind of communal, warm atmosphere that matched the venue perfectly. The chef had outdone himself. Every dish was incredible, and people kept commenting that it was the best wedding food they'd ever had. During speeches, Nina told the story of how the venue came to be, including Patricia's sabotage and the family's rallying response. Patricia Reeves thought she could derail this wedding by stealing their venue, Nina said, raising her glass. What she actually did was give Sofia and Marcus the opportunity to create something authentic, something built by the hands and hearts of everyone in this room. "So thank you, Patricia." Nina looked directly at Patricia's table with a smile that had teeth. "Your betrayal gave us the best wedding any of us have ever attended." The room erupted in applause and laughter. Sofia saw Patricia's face turn red, saw Marcus's father lean over and whisper something to her. When it was Marcus's turn to speak, he thanked everyone who'd contributed to building the venue, naming specific people and contributions. Then he turned to Sofia. 6 months ago, when we lost Riverside Manor, I watched my wife. He paused as everyone cheered at his first use of the word wife. I watched Sofia's heart break. I watched her question everything. And I worried that my mother's actions would poison this day, would make Sofia always associate our wedding with betrayal and loss. He took Sofia's hand. But instead, I got to watch Sofia do what she does best. Create something beautiful from nothing. Transform a challenge into an opportunity. Build something with her own hands that reflects who we really are. This venue, this day, this perfect celebration, it's all Sofia. Her vision, her determination, her refusal to let anyone else define what our wedding should be. He raised his glass. To Sofia, the strongest, most creative, most beautiful person I know. Thank you for marrying me. Thank you for building this with me. Thank you for showing me what matters. Sofia was crying, happy tears this time, as Marcus kissed her to more applause. J. blank _ blank. Late in the evening, after dinner and cake and the first dance, Sofia found herself standing outside the barn, looking at the property lit up in the darkness. Lights sparkled in every tree. Music and laughter floated from inside. Through the barn's open walls, she could see their guests dancing, celebrating, living fully in this moment. Beautiful, isn't it? Sofia turned to find Patricia standing a few feet away, also looking at the scene. This was the first time they'd been alone together since the cancellation. Yes, Sofia said simply, waiting to see what Patricia wanted. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. I owe you an apology, a real one, not the letter I sent. Okay. I was wrong. Patricia's voice was stiff, like the words were being physically pulled from her. I thought I knew what was best. I thought your choices weren't sophisticated enough, weren't worthy of my son, and I used my influence to override your plans. You sabotaged my wedding, Sofia said flatly. Yes, I did. Patricia finally looked at her. And in doing so, I showed complete disrespect for you, for Marcus, for your relationship. I treated you like a child who needed to be corrected rather than an adult capable of making her own decisions. Sofia waited. This, Patricia gestured at the property, is extraordinary. It's more beautiful, more meaningful, more memorable than anything I could have planned, than anything Riverside Manor or Belmont Estate could have provided. You created something special. And I robbed you of the chance to do this on your own terms, without my interference forcing your hand. Yes, you did. Patricia flinched slightly at the bluntness. I'm sorry, Sofia. Truly sorry. I don't know if you can forgive me. I don't know if Marcus ever will. He's barely spoken to me in 6 months. But I needed to say it, to acknowledge what I did. Sofia studied her mother-in-law. This was different from the letter. This was genuine, uncomfortable, real remorse. I can't promise to forgive you immediately, Sofia said carefully. What you did really hurt. It made me question whether I'd ever be good enough for your family, whether my choices would ever be respected. You are good enough. You're extraordinary, and I was a fool. But, Sofia continued, I can promise to try, eventually. Because you're Marcus's mother, and he loves you, even when he's furious at you. And because, she looked back at the barn, at the celebration, because if you hadn't done what you did, we wouldn't have created this. We wouldn't have built something with our own hands. We wouldn't have learned what we're capable of when we work together. Patricia's eyes were wet. You're being far more gracious than I deserve. Maybe, but that's my choice to make, not yours. Sofia gave her a small smile. And making my own choices is kind of my thing now. Despite herself, Patricia laughed, a short, surprised sound. I'm beginning to see that. They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the celebration continue. Would you like to come inside? Sofia asked. I think Marcus would appreciate seeing you trying. I'd like that. They walked back toward the barn together, not quite friends, not quite family yet, but perhaps taking the first small steps toward healing. Noma, blank, underscore, blank. Later, as the night wound down and guests began to leave, Sofia found herself dancing with Marcus under the lights, the barn mostly empty now except for a few family members helping with cleanup. We did it, Marcus said, holding her close. We actually pulled off the perfect wedding. Better than perfect, Sofia corrected. Real, ours, built by us, and everyone who loves us. Your grandmother's land looks good in white lights, Marcus observed, making her laugh. Everything looks good in white lights. True, he pulled back to look at her. Are you happy? Really, truly happy? Sofia thought about the question. 6 months ago, getting this question on her wedding day, she would have thought about whether every detail was perfect, whether the venue was impressive enough, whether people were having a good time. Now she thought about what really mattered. She and Marcus were married, they'd created something beautiful together, literally from the ground up. They'd learned they could face challenges and come out stronger. They'd set boundaries with family and held them. They'd chosen each other, over and over, in big ways and small. "Yes," Sofia said, "I'm really truly happy. Are you?" "I've never been happier." He kissed her forehead. "Thank you for not giving up when my mother tried to ruin everything. Thank you for being brave enough to build something better. We built it together." "We did, and we always will." As they swayed together under the lights, Sofia thought about how 6 months ago a phone call had shattered her plans. How betrayal had threatened to poison what should have been a joyous time. How she'd felt lost and helpless and unsure of how to move forward. And she thought about how sometimes the worst things that happen to us clear the way for the best things. How being forced off the easy path sometimes leads us to exactly where we're meant to be. How building something from scratch with your own hands and the help of people who love you creates something more meaningful than anything you could buy or rent. Her dream wedding at Riverside Manor would have been beautiful. But this wild, magical, imperfect, perfect celebration on her grandmother's land was better. Because it was real. Because it was theirs. Because it was built on love and resilience and creativity and family. Because some dreams need to be shattered so better ones can take their place.